welcome everyone, or not. Where's the switch? Is there a switch on this?
Yeah, talking into the microphone.
I am talking to the microphone. All right, there we go. Welcome everyone. This is, I think, great to get all the staff together so infrequently that we get everybody and see faces, and it's great to see the team here. By the way, just for the early people that come, anybody that sits in the first 2 rows is going to have a little extra bonus on their check. The surprise is the people in the 2 back rows, you'll be paying for that bonus. Just thought I'd tell you that. We do have a very full agenda, and I'm sure all of you know we've had a very busy quarter. A lot has happened, and this is a chance to get us all on the same page. So you're going to hear a lot of different things, some updates and some progress that we've made on some big projects. And speaking of that, first up is Shao.
I don't get that bonus because I'm technically sitting back there and right here. Is this broken? Can you guys hear me? Okay. I am here to give you guys an update on standard shipping. Something that we started this year, went live in January, so we are starting month 4 now. Again, just to remind you guys, the objective of standard shipping, I won't read it to you, but the key things were we were looking at patients who were ordering 3 or more shipments, DME shipments a month, looking at providing delivery up to 3 days after an order's been placed, encouraging office pickups if you need it earlier than 3 days, and then it went into effect on the 4th month of patients coming on service with PHS. And we also could not guarantee a specific servicer, so we could not always guarantee UPS would be the person coming to your home. I wanted to give you guys an update in quarter 1. When we first started this and we were looking at data, we didn't go live again until January, so this is the quarter before it. We were sitting at 13.8% of our patients are ordering over the standard shipping of 2 a month, so anyone with 3 or more. We did see a significant decrease from November to December. That again is when we started pushing, kind of educating our families about kind of what standard shipping is for PHS and some of the benefits that come with that. So that's kind of where that decrease came in. In quarter 2 is when we went live. So January we went live. We were again at 8.5, and then if you look at February, we went down to 5.5% of our patients had ordered 2 or less. That's under 100 patients at PHS that are practicing this new practice. That has gone up a little bit to 7.9 in March, but the number of delivery tickets that we've also created has also gone up. So I just want to come up here and say thank you, everyone. This has been a very challenging change, I think, not just for our families, but also for us internally. And you guys have done a great job, so thank you. We'll keep doing it.
Okay, so raise your hand if you're excited about our Wisconsin expansion. All right, we're going to wait until everybody raises their hand. All right, Joe's going to come up, give us a little update on our Wisconsin expansion.
So it's not just me, it's me and Lisa. Lisa Jensen.
Oh, Mr. Hammond, we'll break ya.
No, you will not.
Give us time.
So I don't know if you guys noticed the number of new faces on the scrolling announcements when we first came in, but I feel like we have just a ton of new people. So since Todd and Shao were too rude to introduce themselves. That was Todd Ericson. He's the head of HR. That was Shao View. She's our quality improvement manager. Is that your title, I think? Manager of improving quality. Whether that's her title or not, it's what she does. This is Lisa Jensen. She's our leader for customer service. And I'm Joe Dietlein. I'm lead business development, marketing, and outreach. So that's not what I'm here to talk about, though. I'm here to talk about Wisconsin. So
come on, people. Get excited.
Our expanding into Wisconsin, and we're making great progress. Over the next several minutes, we'll talk about timeline, staffing, and location, but first. So, last time that we got together to talk about Wisconsin, we got a lot of good feedback about the t-shirts that we had on. So, we brought a few more. We wanted to start off by giving a few away, and we were watching as you walked in to see who interacted with the Wisconsin paraphernalia that was sitting at the front door.
A lot of you look like it was the plague.
Yeah, we needed an indicator.
That stuff is the plague.
So,
It's not.
who did we have?
So, all the names are in here. If you touched any of the Wisconsin stuff, your name is in here for drawing for a t-shirt. So, too bad for you that snubbed your nose at it.
What do you think? Three of them?
3 of them, sure.
We'll do 3. You ready? Here we go. So these people put their, skin in harm's way. Just kidding. Steve.
What the wolf?
Which Steve?
Steve R.
Steve Roberts.
Steve R.
Where's Steve
Sorry, not Steve.
Where did Roberts go?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, the next one is Steve W., so that worked out pretty well.
Wait, no, but I also want Steve, in order to do a t-shirt, you have to do the dance that you were doing in the car.
Yeah.
I'm pretty used to touching greatness.
Oh, you can't unsee that dance. So Cynthia is our last winner. All right.
All the rest you're wishing you would have.
We'll have a few more opportunities
next
to win
time.
a little bit later in the presentation. Just to keep things moving, we are moving full steam ahead. August is our planned launch time frame, the month of August. So we're marching forward towards that date. Tons of work going on to hit that date and keep us moving forward. Lots of people involved in this room. So what are we doing? Well, first of all, Lisa is fully entrenched in her role as operations transition leader and has been kind of working to kind of take over the day-to-day efforts of getting Wisconsin off of the ground over the last month, really since we got together in this room about 2 months ago, I think it is at this point. CPR Plus decisions. So when we first went after this, we said, how are we going to handle this in CPR Plus? That's pretty key. And we had to make a few decisions for how that would work. We made those decisions. We've really, we think, set up a way to easily identify where patients are going to be serviced out of within CPR Plus. And many thanks to the folks that dug in on that issue and helped to find what I think was a simpler solution than what we originally thought we were going to have to do. We established a service area. So the green side is going to be serviced out of the Roseville office, and the purple side, magenta side, is going to be serviced out of the Milwaukee office. So it's a little uneven, as you can see, but Milwaukee being in the bottom right-hand corner is going to service all of that purple area. It works out to be about 4 hours distance from each one of the offices. So that's how we're going to service patients. So each patient will be assigned to each office. It looks like Mark has a question.
Joe.
Yeah.
The green that's in the bottom right-hand corner of the purple, that's going to be handled out of the Roseville area?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it just a little
Maybe a little typo.
typo?
Yeah.
You get to respond to those calls at 2.
Thanks for pointing.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out,
Yeah.
though.
Sorry. Sorry, Joe.
We have started outreach to Milwaukee. We have a contingent of folks down there right now. They're probably in their car on the way home right now. But Tamara and Siri were working to introduce themselves to a lot of the healthcare providers in Milwaukee this week. And Derek was down there. There was also a respiratory conference that Children's of Wisconsin put on that at least Siri and Derek went to get to know some of the folks down there. Thrive Squad is the theme that we're using on all of our marketing materials down there, so we're recruiting people to be part of our squad down there. We're continuing to work with payers. We've got a number of conversations in the works. We've got a couple of contracts that we're ready to ink, and we'll continue that work, I would think, right up until the day that we open the doors. So now that Lisa is firmly entrenched in her new role, I'm going to hand over the rest of the presentation to her.
Got the power. Green to move it. All
To
right.
the right, yep.
So we're going to hand out some more shirts. So 57, can anybody guess what that?
Counties in Wisconsin.
Nope. Applicants.
57 days.
Close.
Wow. You're pretty impressive, Miss Vaughn. Oh,
The arrow to the right.
oh, to the right. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
All right. So, total interviews. Does that count?
I think Becki wins.
I-
Yep, there we go.
Well, these are the new ones. These are the new PHS branded ones.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All righty. So 57 interviews that we've completed, where we've done some second ones, some promising candidates. So we're very excited, and huge thanks to HR. They've done an amazing job just really vetting through a ton of applicants and making sure that we're bringing on the best people possible. So as Joe said, Derek is in Milwaukee right now meeting some of those potential candidates. So we want you to continue to share with your connections, referral sources. Anybody that you know over there, there's a $1,000 bonus if you point us to an applicant that we end up hiring. So continue to do that. So Milwaukee is the location that we've kind of zeroed in on. We found a location that we're hoping to sign the lease soon on. So this is just the front entrance of it. So our marketing team, I'm just envisioning what marketing is going to do with all those little squares on the window there with that. So that's the front entrance of it. This is kind of the front lobby area, the reception area as you walk in there. It's what, Joe, about 7,000 square feet? 6,000 square feet. So
Yep.
obviously much smaller than the location that we have here, but definitely something that we felt was turnkey. Marketing will put their branding on it in certain areas with that. So just some painting and stuff, but otherwise pretty much turnkey. So this is, again, that front entrance area, that little curved area is right off to the right there. And this is the warehouse area for it. So Milwaukee is a really nice location, very nice area. We felt it's a warehouse or an office space that we could move in there right away, start building up the business, and also allowed for some little bit of growth there too. So a little bit bigger than what we were initially planning on, but it met all our needs, and it's about 15 minutes from Children. Oh. We'll see who's listening. All right. So, okay, 322 miles. What does that mean? Here to there. Okay.
That. From here to there. There we go.
All righty. Okay, we're gonna have to think of some other challenging ones for you guys then. Okay, so distance from PHS in Roseville to the Milwaukee headquarters. 0.8.
The distance from the new location to the Children's Hospital.
Not.
Damn it.
No.
To the oxygen provider.
No. Oh, I think I heard it. No, what did somebody say? I said from on that side. What did you say, Snyder?
The nearest bar.
Guess that. Why doesn't that surprise me? All right. 5.5 miles.
From the location.
HR probably knows it. Coffee shop.
All right. Caribou, but it's really not caribou. They don't have caribous out there, so coffee and bagels. All right, 1.6 miles.
Closest to the hospital.
Jimmy John's.
Who's at Starbucks? All right. Lori got that one. Guess we take out an employee, so. Oh, and
We're also only about 15 minutes from the close.
yep. So we figured that was kind of important for us as well, but put that on the bottom. So again, very excited. a lot of progress has happened. Thank you to everybody who has taken part in helping us establish some of those processes and just really putting a lot of work into the initiative. So we'll keep you posted as things continue to progress on it. So, any questions?
I don't think we have time.
All right.
Yeah.
Ann is giving us the mean sign back there, so.
So, side note, if, we have a couple of size changes, so stop by Dana's office if you'd like to change your t-shirt out. So I'd like to introduce the next speaker. He's a respected individual in the organization. That'd be me. Yes. Thank you. There will also be a form coming around if you're interested in purchasing one of the t-shirts if you were not fortunate enough to win today. And that'll come from Kelsey.
And how
Thank
much
you.
are these t-shirts?
And how much are these t-shirts?
They will be less than $15 and it can only go down depending upon quantity.
It'll be based on the quantity, less than $15. There we go. That's right. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So, so thank you for paying attention to the Wisconsin presentation. I want to talk about the Pediatric Center of Excellence next. So earlier this fiscal year, we talked about what our wildly important goals are for this year, and part of the purposes of the staff meeting are to give updates on progress towards our major initiatives throughout the year. So if you recall, we had two wildly important goals, or WIGs. One of them was to establish a PPEC, which Becki will talk about in a little bit. And then the other was to establish PHS as a Pediatric Center of Excellence. So I know you guys all listen extremely intently, so you remember that there were a number of outcomes that we were attempting to achieve around the Pediatric Center of Excellence. One of them was expanding the products and services that we provide, which would fit into the Wisconsin effort that we have underway. And the other, or one of the others, was to really establish and articulate what a vision of a Pediatric Center of Excellence is. And so that's the one that I want to give an update on here. So over the last several months, we've put a lot of work into really establishing what we mean by Pediatric Center of Excellence. So why did we do that? We felt like with the amount of change and competition that we're seeing in healthcare, we needed to really step back and say, what is this thing that makes PHS different? Why do we think and know that the service that we provide is so differentiated and worthy of the accolades that we get? And how do we make that so that it's something that we can talk about easily, that we can convey to people outside of our organization, as well as communicate and be on the same page within our organization when we talk about these things? So we spent a decent amount of time kind of stepping back and saying, what are those things? We thought about that from a PHS standpoint, but then we also thought about it from a home care standpoint and said, when we think about this Pediatric Center of Excellence, yes, we think that we are one, but how can we make it so that this is a foundation for other organizations to potentially look at and think about how do we achieve that same level of service for this population that we care so much about? So probably about 6 months ago, we set out on trying to figure out exactly what we meant by those things. The process that we went through was really to research and understand what are centers of excellence. What do other people think about when they say centers of excellence? We found a wide range of examples and definitions of centers of excellence that are used in lots of different walks of life. So there's self-proclaimed centers of excellence. There are, health system centers of excellence. I think the Cleveland Clinic claims that they have a couple. There's a lot of different ways to define it. We even rediscovered that we are a center of excellence according to Passing Muir, and we were declared one a couple of years ago. So we looked at a few, and we looked at how they kind of had it structured, and a couple had nice tidy checklists that are kind of the way we like to operate, and said, well, let's kind of model off of that. And we said, how are we going to put forth a framework that would encapsulate the Pediatric Center of Excellence that we're thinking about? I only have a minute, so I got to speed up. So we started with the domains that we think are the most important. We jumped into what are proof points around those domains. And then we thought about, well, you know, we might think they're awesome, but what's the evidence that says that these proof points really prove that you're excellent in the domains that we're thinking about? And so Roy pretty much did that research, looked at literature and things like that that indicated that what we do really is beneficial to kiddos. And then we want to also have kind of the so what around it for each one of the audiences that we care about, kind of the value propositions as we've been talking about it. So what did we come up with? Well, we came up with this. So these are the domains that we thought about. We really wanted to have it in a visually appealing image that we could use. We want this to become something that everybody can use, everybody can feel proud of, that it rolls off of our tongue like taking care of the child, like helping kids thrive at home, and really starts to establish what the areas of excellence are where we operate. So real quick, quality outcomes and patient experience, coordinated multidisciplinary care, operational excellence, advanced professional staff, community integration, and focused research and development. These are all areas that we do excel, and I think areas that we all would agree contribute to the ability for our organization to achieve the outcomes that we do. We took it a little bit further and we thought about, okay, so within all of these flower petals, what are some of the aspects that are some of those proof points or some of the areas where you have to really nail it in order to prove that you're excellent in these domains. So for example, if you want to have quality outcomes and patient experience, you got to have data to back it up. You got to show that you're looking at that data and improving, and then you have to demonstrate results in order to really be excellent in those areas. So as you think about this, you can imagine kind of a checklist of somebody saying, yeah, we're a Pediatric Center of Excellence, check, 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 we do those things. All of these things we check off. You'll see this going forward. I think you'll notice some of the decorations have come along since the last time that we were in this room. I love the Leo mural outside. But part of the decorating in the hallway as you come down here, right outside my office really, is going to be the image of the Pediatric Center of Excellence. So we expect it to become part of our everyday. You're going to walk past it. Hopefully you'll spend a little bit of time internalizing some of the domains that are on there and think about it. We've started to use it in conversations with groups outside of PHS. We use this with a payer audience, and it was pretty well received. We really just took some of the real specific things that we do to say these are where we demonstrate that we're excellent in these domains, and why we're differentiated in how we serve the population that we serve. Our work's not done. We need to kind of go to that next step to make it easy for everybody to use these items and to make it so that each of the reasons around why we provide value with these domains, why they're useful for all these different audiences. So we'll be working on tools that'll be available for everybody, and we'll distribute those over the next couple of months. So thanks to everybody for the hard work on this, and thanks for your attention.
All right. I am Becki Long, Director of Therapies and Education, and I've also been working with a group of folks for introducing the PPEC into the community. So I'm just here to talk a little bit about where we are at with PPEC. So a PPEC is a prescribed pediatric extended care. And if we can flip, let's see here. I don't know what's happening here.
Sorry, Becki.
Okay, there we go. And so what it is basically a daycare for kids that would typically need home care nursing in their home, but that they would be able to come to a facility and receive that specialized care in and among a group of children that they can also interact with. Our hope is that we can more efficiently use scarce nursing resources, as we know that there's a workforce shortage, and that we would be able to provide the same individualized care planning and safe, appropriate care for patients in this setting. We want to create opportunities for children to socialize and families to socialize with one another. And then also having the families and the patients have access to therapies in this time that they're at the setting. So as an example, these parents have speech, OT, PT, and they have all of these therapy appointments that they have to get the kids to, or people coming to their home. This place creates some access and then hopefully compliance and better outcomes with that as an example. And then just higher family satisfaction over other post-acute settings. The top bullet is just that it's prescribed by a physician, but it's chosen by a family. We're not looking at this to replace home care nursing. We're looking at it to really be another option because of the known issues with home care nursing and some with the staffing, and families maybe preference that their child was cared for in a facility where they had some counterparts their age. So the photos are of a facility that we visited in called Kids Club, and it's down in Kentucky. For our PPEC, though, we're looking at being open about 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, and having nursing ratios, just giving a guesstimate, not knowing the acuity of the children that would be there, about 3 to 1. So there would be nurses, but then there would also be other trained caregivers available at the facility to help out and be extra hands there as well. Obviously, infection prevention is going to be key when you have multiply medically complex kids in the same environment. So that's something that we're definitely keeping a close eye on as we develop the model. And then, again, just that socialization and having these kids have the same type of experience that a lot of our kids have as we bring them to daycare and then head off to work for the day. So as far as the update goes, we've had a lot of discussions with DHS and MDH. So DHS is really, we're working with them to decide how we can implement this into the system, and also looking at the cost and things like that of running a PPEC. And we've modified our approach to just be a pilot of 2 years with 2 PPECs in operation. We've had many meetings and impromptu and then other more formal with DHS, MDH, different vendors and state legislators to advance this cause over the last several months. And then we've been doing a lot of number crunching and re-crunching to determine how much this should cost the state of Minnesota. So a few weeks ago we learned that DHS wants us to tell them how we arrived at our half-day and full-day rate. So basically, Leah's been getting quotes from all of these different vendors so that we can substantiate the ask that we had for the half-day and full-day rate that we came up with. And then the potential path forward. So we're hoping to pass the pilot legislation. Just yesterday, we were at the Health and Human Services Finance Committee meeting where Susan Wingert testified, did a fantastic job. Stacy Vogel, the mother of Tana Vogel, also testified on our behalf and did a beautiful job of talking about, we have all these problems that we know that there's not enough nurses in home care, and this is the first creative idea that's been brought to the table. And she said that. And then even the people that opposed it because they are concerned that their child might lose benefits, even supported it in and of that there's not enough nurses in home care, and that was a constant thing that they kept repeating. So again, just the out-of-the-box thinking that we've brought to the state with this idea. And then, so hopefully if it passes through pilot legislation, we'd be able to work with DHS and get it approved for payment by CMS, and then open centers in early 2019. If you have any questions, there's certainly a large group of us that are working on this, and you can reach out to me, Joe, and any of us. Okay?
Well, the next 2 topics we have a little mixed emotions about, recognizing the departure of one of our very valued employees here, but also some positive changes that are happening in our home care nursing department. So Judy's going to come up and talk a little bit about that, and followed by Cameo as well.
Thank you. I'm Judy Giel, Chief Clinical Officer for this organization. Been with the company 21 years. And I am very sad to announce that Carletta has decided to leave our organization. I'm not sure. I want to thank her for 11 fantastic years. Carletta started here in 2007. She worked with our infusion therapy group for, until 2015. And in 2015, mid-2015, she agreed to move over and become the Director of Nursing for our home care nursing group. And Carletta, your touch has been very important in many of our patients, our families, and our healthcare workers. And as I understand it, you may be personal nurse to a number of employees here. So thank you for all of your contributions. We'll miss you. And it is time for a change, and not necessarily just because Carletta's leaving, but because the organization is changing, growing, and moving forward. And so it's not maybe just a single event, but it seems timed coincidentally with that. So I'd like to talk about what we've done to work on some of the changes that we're making in home care nursing. And we've learned a lot over the past 6 years, and what was most important to us was to involve input from those stakeholders, those team members who work intimately within home care nursing to get their advice and their opinions and determine what's our best step forward. So this will show you the number of people that were involved and provided input. Obviously, we get input and feedback from our families on a daily basis. And so I just want you to know that it was a comprehensive group of people that put together and gave us some input. So, and thanks to all of them for doing that. The outcome of that meeting was that we would, at least for right now, continue that leadership structure. So we've got the Director of Nursing and Home Care Nursing. We are going to, though, separate the role of a case manager and the nurse supervisor. Some of you may remember you were here originally, and we had it that way when we first set up, but at that time we had close to 60 cases. We had 11 people filling the role of either a nurse supervisor or a case manager, and we had a lot of changes that were going on every day, each day, changes in scheduling, changes in family requests, and it just was a lot of chaos. And so when we needed to downsize, we did that and we merged those two roles. But what we found that there were many more pros to keeping them separate than to keeping them, to separating them rather than to keep them together. That being the case manager role's priority is always the family. The family concerns, the family needs, the patient's plan of care, and that. So supervising the nurses became not an afterthought, but lower priority. And with that in mind, there were nurses that were starting that might not have even known or remembered who their supervisor was. So the feeling is, with this type of a deployed workforce, it's very important for them to have a point in contact. Brenda was very compelling when she said, as a brand new field nurse, she started, and she was kind of on the fence whether this was going to be a permanent career for her or not. And it was the touch and the reach out by Holly, who was her nurse supervisor at the time, checking in with her, making sure everything was comfortable, asking her if she had any questions. It was really critical. And so based on a lot of that feedback, we decided that at this point, we have 30 families. We've got, we'll have 3 case managers and 3 nurse supervisors. We'll have much better touch points with our field nurses so that they feel connected to our organization, and our families will be prioritized by the case managers. We'll continue to evaluate opportunities for non-clinical leadership in that area. We've got some really evolving and growing and developing employees in that area who are looking for advancement. And that at this point it made a lot of sense for us to relocate our home health agency over to the infusion nursing area, which is already kind of a visit-based program. So it made a lot of sense for a fit in that area. So if you look at where it was, the old structure, and there's one missing box in here, and that's our field nurses. We had the director of nursing, we had Sarah Burley as the executive assistant, the HHA, and then also our home care nursing, our case managers, new supervisors. Becca Pash is she supervises all of our T1s and our T2s, so those are our nurses that are trainers in an individual patient home or a preceptor. We had our office coordinators and, of course, our invaluable office triage nurse. Where is Nicole Schumann? Give her a hand. This is what's changing, those boxes in red. As you can see that we're going to move the HHA over to the infusion area, and then obviously we're going to separate out those two roles. So that's the change that we're making there. New, I'd like to just hope that you join me in celebrating Lindsay Padich, who is our new Director of Nursing. She will have, of course, the executive assistant, Sarah, reporting to her, in addition to 3 case managers, 3 nurse supervisors, the healthcare, the home care nursing coordinators, HCNs, as we lovingly know, and our office triage nurse. So as you can see, Allison Flemke and Holly Johnson have signed up to become nurse supervisors. We're having a transition for that right now, just because we have that would only leave Brenda being our only case manager, and that's not supportable right now. So we've got a transition plan for our families and for those case managers, so do not be alarmed. And moving on, that makes changes in our infusion department, our infusion nursing department. So at this point, I'd like you all to congratulate with me Michelle Curley, who's being promoted to Director of Nursing. And Joel Skog, who will be the manager of the nursing area. And we're welcoming Tiffany and Becki and Alyssa into the skilled nursing visit area in that. And of course, Monica supports that home health agency, because that's the second service that we provide with our home health agency. We have obviously Jill Wall, who has been our IV educator for a number of years, and then we have created a new position which will be an office resource nurse. So I just want to rest assured, everyone here, those of you who are field nurses that are here, welcome. We're really glad to have you here. And rest assured, this business is rock solid. We are keeping this business. It's a very strategic business line for us. And there's a solid leadership team in place, and we have 132 outstanding field nurses. Thank you for all you do, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And by the way, Claudia, thank you very much for organizing after hours social occasion to celebrate Carletta's departure. That will be on her last day, which is April 18th, and it will be at Grumpy's, I believe. Great, thank you.
So in a minute, Cameo will come up and talk a little bit about the situation that you guys are all very well aware of involving one of our field staff. But I wanted to comment, being part of some of the internal investigation that we did around this, and a great segue in Judy's closing comments about what an outstanding bunch of nurses that we have out in the field. I had a chance to interview 40 of them, and it just reinforced what an impressive group they are. They are so serious about the job that they do and taking care of these kids and being in these homes and really caring for kids in difficult circumstances, and they're just rock solid. And in addition, I think as we've looked at some of our practices, our policies, I've also been impressed again with how PHS just does things at such a high level. The quality that we, all of us, I think, try to achieve, it's very evident in what there's just nothing that we really have to worry about from what we do every day. And I think that is a thank you to this group as well as to our field staff. So Cameo, come on up and yeah.
Can I just add one thing? Looking at my speaker's notes, I forgot one thing. As you all know, if you don't know, I'm telling you, I plan to retire in 3 years. So as a result, we've been enacting kind of a succession plan, and so Becki Long is going to be involved involved in the home care nursing area as she's learning that role to step into a higher leadership position.
What?
Hello everyone, my name is Cameo Zender and I am the Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel here for those of you I haven't met yet. As Todd mentions, I am here to give you an update on an incident we communicated to you early last month in which we were notified by a family that a field nurse employed by PHS had been abusing their child. That person, of course, at this point is now a former employee of Pediatric Home Service, and we wanted to provide you with updates to the extent we're able on what has occurred since that time. So that was in early March. During that time, we've been working with multiple agencies, first and foremost, that being law enforcement. The criminal investigation against this person is ongoing. The individual has confessed and has been charged with multiple felonies. He was incarcerated for a period of time and is now on a conditional release with, of course, very specific parameters of keeping a distance from families. We expect that he will be back in court in mid-May, and at that time a plea is expected, but his court hearings have been continued as both parties or both sides have requested additional information. We are continuing, of course, to cooperate with law enforcement. Some of that cooperation has given us the approval or ability to communicate with other stakeholders and other people very important to us, first and foremost being any other families that would have received care from this individual. So very early or very soon after we spoke with you last month, we were able to have communication with each of those families, provide them with, as much information as we could, get them in contact with law enforcement so they could share any questions or concerns that they had. In speaking with each of those families, similar to Todd's experience with our home care nurses, they were shocked, yes, but also very supportive, with a parent or several parents even going so far as to apologize to me on the phone for us having to endure this experience. So I think that should speak volumes to each of us as to the trust and commitment that our families have in each of us. Other agencies we're also working with are the Minnesota Board of Nursing. So I can tell you that this individual's nursing license minimally has been temporarily suspended, but likely at this point has been permanently revoked. There was a hearing that was scheduled. I'm not certain if that has taken place yet, but at that hearing it was anticipated that that permanent revocation would take place. We are also working with the Minnesota Department of Health. Several of you may be aware that we had 2 investigators come on site on Monday with the Office of Health Facility Complaints to do an investigation of Pediatric Home Service. That shouldn't come as a surprise to any of us, and it shouldn't be alarming to any of us. It should really be reassuring. You may be a consumer of healthcare services or home care services. If you're not, you probably know someone or have someone close to you. We want agencies like that to be doing investigations when something like this occurs. So we are cooperating with them. There are volumes and volumes of documentation we're sharing. They are also doing many interviews with our field nurses, with certain employees here in the office. We're expecting that investigation, or at least have a preliminary report, hopefully sometime this week, but it may have somewhat of an ongoing nature, more to come on that. As far as that additional communication, like I think we shared with you last month, our first priority was to be able to get in contact with other families. We've had ongoing communication with several of them throughout the month, should they have had any concerns with their child, and providing them with the support that we're able to. We also met with all of our field nurses, either here in person in the office or through a series of conference calls, again making sure they are informed and that they have us to lean on, and providing them with some guidance, because of course our field nurses are it can be in a challenging situation when they're in the isolation of a patient home and maybe asked several questions that would be difficult for them to handle. So again, trying to provide them with our support. And then additionally, to prescribers who would have been involved in the care of any of these children, as well as those healthcare professionals and entities with whom we have a very close relationship, the ability to really get in front of the communication and make sure that they're hearing from us first. I think Mark and Becki made several of those calls, and I believe experienced much of the same. So much has occurred since we spoke to you in March, but we're not done yet, nor should it be done, because this individual hasn't come to justice yet. He will. There's been shock, there's been disbelief, and it's been just downright scary, I'm sure, for many of you, as for me. But here's the most important thing we've learned. We will not be defined by one horrible individual. There's an entire community that relies upon us, and we'll continue to be there for them. So we ask for your continued discretion. Your continued discretion and confidentiality, but we understand you might have questions. And please feel free to come to me, to Mark, to Judy, to Todd. Those are the individuals that are most closely involved with this incident, and we'll answer your questions to the best of our ability. Thank you.
And how apropos that this is the month, the National Child Abuse Prevention Month. So in part of our effort to maybe ramp up some of our training, Monica has got a short presentation on child abuse. If you've been part of PHS, you know we've done annual training in the past, and we do require it of our field staff. So it's one of those practices that I know I have put a lot of assurance that we're doing the right thing, but it's always good for us to continue to learn. So Monica, there you are. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Monica Hanos, the clinical social worker here. Todd basically gave my presentation, but here I am. So like he said, April is Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. So I will do a live presentation at the end of the month, and then we'll also have it on PHS University with a quiz for everybody to watch and learn, hopefully. And our focus will be signs and symptoms, and we'll have a lot of statistics. It's not a fun topic. It's very draining just learning, but it's a lot of good information that we all need to know. And then at the end of May, I will be doing a training for clinical staff and field staff regarding boundaries as well and communication. So you will be seeing a lot of me. Thank you.
Although it is a difficult topic, even if you're not a clinician, I would recommend coming. I think it's just good awareness for us to have as part of being community members. So now we get to really kind of fun stuff in the staff meeting, some celebrations. We've got some pretty big milestones being crossed. So we have one person that's going to be up here for a number of them. In fact, all of them, right? No, not all of them. We'll have Mike come up first to celebrate. Well, I won't steal his thunder. Surprise is still there. Where's Mr. Vogel? Nope. Oh, there he is. He's coming in.
All right. What do I do to unmute this? Or who's running it? Or am I running it?
Is there a clicker there?
Yeah, but it's... That's not the clicker.
Yeah, that's right.
Is it?
They have to get it on.
Okay. I was like, somebody's got to be running this thing. Where are they? There they are.
So we're here today to say congratulations to Tim Broughton for 20 years. So I thought we'd take a look at Tim over the 20 years here. All the different styles, you know. My personal favorite is down in the corner down there. It kind of looks like Mike Piazza, if you know who Mike Piazza is. So what does Tim like? Tim likes sports. Obviously, he likes his softball and bowling and golf and hockey. And recently, about what was it, Tim? Year and a half ago, moved to River Falls? Right. And we kind of in Biomed have always noticed that Tim is a Vikings fan, but we've never seen him in Vikings gear. So we're like, what's up with that? You know, and now you're in Wisconsin, so we just figured, you know, enough of this Packer stuff. You got to have something Vikings. So you got your little Vikings gear. And Tim, he likes having some fun, as you can see, you know. You got some good pictures here over there's a lot of funny pictures in those events over 20 years. And consistent over 20 years, as long as I've known Tim. He likes hanging with his friends and drinking beer. But the drinking beer part's more real, or more recent. When I started here, Tim didn't drink a beer. Tim only liked ciders. And I thought that was kind of weird, you know. Now all of a sudden, not only does he drink beer, but he's like a beer snob, if you know what a beer snob is. So in this brown bag is your snob smorgasbord. And then obviously Tim loves his daughter Julia very much. I don't know, she's been here a few times. I don't know who's all seen her or not, but. And what does Tim do here? Obviously he works in Biomed, but he didn't always work in Biomed. He started his career here as a PHS delivery driver. And he did that, what did you do that, 3 years? 3.5 years? And then he came to Biomed. In Biomed, he obviously repairs and tests equipment. Something that he does that is kind of unique is he approves all our invoices in Biomed. So all the repairs of equipment that go outside the building, Tim approves all our invoices for us. He also makes sure that all of our testing equipment is up to date with its calibrations. So the stuff that we're using to calibrate equipment is calibrated by another company. And then obviously if you take equipment from the warehouse, he's going to be hunting you down when it comes due for PM. And I'd just like to say thanks again, Tim. I'm done.
All right, now the next person's going to come up and spend a little time up here celebrating the 3 amigas in billing, also celebrating 20 years.
Yeah. So yeah, we must have went through a hiring burst 20 years ago. So we have 3. Lisa Petersen was last month, 20 years.
Judy is this month. Actually, just this morning, I witnessed Judy and Lisa Petersen, who are work wives, exchange 20-year anniversary work wife cards.
And then the 3rd one is Claudia Rodriguez, and she is in June. But we just decided we'd smoosh them all together for this. So.
Back in the day, some pictures of Lisa at her wedding with her mom and dad and her husband, Nick.
And Claudia at Lisa's wedding, yeah. So Mike, I don't know how you felt going through all the pictures from 20 years ago. We have a lot of pictures over 20 years.
And then back in the day, having some fun, different events.
And then this is Jude's back in the day. So I actually had to ask Lisa P. if that was Jude in the blue dress. I wasn't entirely sure. So that was at a casino night, evidently, that PHS threw. So, and then more costumes for PHS. And it's surprising because Jude participates in everything, but it was tough to find pictures of her. She must avoid the camera. So.
Claudia, of course, front and center as an elf, a spider, and was that 80s day or something?
It was 80s, yeah.
Some more events. I think this red dress is also the casino event.
The same casino night that Jude was at, yeah. We cropped somebody out of there for you, Claude. Thanks, Mark.
It wasn't me.
No, it was not his suggestion. So, a few of their favorite things: Lisa and her husband and her puppies, and her and Nick are frequent out and abouters. They're every weekend they're busy doing something, and then just a glass of red wine or two might be in Lisa's future. And then Kenny, she's a Kenny fan. I'm not sure where the top one is, Colorado, I think, Lisa, with her sister. And then she's a frequent volunteer. She's planting trees there. Yeah. And then she also likes to quilt. So she actually hooked herself up outside quilting. I don't know how many of you remember Audrey Hoover, who was the billing manager when I was hired. That's her son up there getting married. Lisa made him a quilt. And then with Jude up there too. And her favorite things, her sister, twin sister. You can't tell they're related at all. And she's also a big concert goer. Is that the Kenny concert, Lisa, that we went to with your sister? Yeah, I thought so. No, it was a little toasty that day.
Oh, Lord.
A few of Jude's favorite things, family is big on the list. So we got an old picture there and a more current one of the family. And then her dog, Blue, her puppy. And then the grandkids up on the left. And then her man, George Clooney, number one favorite. I think you're out of the running now. He's married, he's got twin girls or something. So.
Yeah.
And her son, and she is also a purveyor of Arbonne, who does lotions and nutrition stuff. You ask her, I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what it was.
And then Claudia, a few of her favorite things. Alex, of course, and Timmy is going to tell a story. The only time I've ever been to a concert where somebody burst into sobs was at a Tim concert with Claudia. He started talking about his kids, and she was just a mess. And then Claude's pool. Couldn't find any pictures of, and so Claude won't Facebook friend me because I'm a manager, so I had to use my resources to get some. And then the baby, her granddaughter, Coraline, and then Holy Family. Is that all sisters and nieces and nephews and cousins too? Yep. Okay. It's a big group. And Claude's right here. Just one or two family members. In California, I'm assuming this was. She's also a fan of firemen. Was that the stair climb? I think? Yep. So, and her and Lisa frequently go to concerts too. The latest was the Pink. And Jude was at that concert too. So
just like in high school, most likely to organize team activities. Lisa's always going to be one of the first ones to jump in whenever there's something, activity, and billing needs to be a team. And she's also the most likely to Lysol your desk. If you left sick someday, your desk will be fairly covered in Lysol and wiped out. If you don't leave soon enough, she might even spray you.
And then And Jude is most likely to change her hair. This is just a small sample. Like I said, she was pretty good at avoiding the camera, but there's been many other hairstyles and hair colors throughout the years.
And Claude, as Laurie already mentioned, most likely to cry because she's a big softie, and give you a big hug. If you're going on PTO for a week, she's going to get her hug in when she sees you last before you leave.
And when Claude hugs you, you know you've been hugged. So Lisa Petersen, the contributions, her responsibility, she's responsible for a quarter of the MA billing and collections. She builds excellent relationships with DHS help desk personnel. I believe there's been a few lunches organized. She's a frequent volunteer for Sharing Care.
Judy is also responsible for a quarter of the MA billing and collections. Builds excellent relationships with DHS help desk personnel, and works directly with DHS to help establish pricing for our 4-digit codes and special pricing.
And Claudia is the team lead for IV billing, and she's responsible for a third of IV billing and collections. And she's always the team cheerleader. She's the first one that's going to say good job or atta girl or atta guy. And she's also a Sharing Care frequent volunteer. So thank you to the three of you. Congratulations. Come on up.
I've had many of those. Thank you, Lisa.
And I didn't talk about my desk a little something for the next 20 years.
Well, thank you all for 20 years. There's a lot of time, a lot of effort that has been put by these guys, so thank you. And that, folks, is a wrap.